Okay, let's get to Steve King. Stephen Cook was very astute in our conversation today on identifying the global dimension of far-right, xenophobic, anti-Muslim politics. This is one of the only other times I'm going to make this point because I know that there was a constituency in our audience that, again, they're into all the Sam Harris nonsense. This is why I was always so opposed to that. One, because it's historically illiterate, it's politically deranged, and it fuels seriously dangerous people and synchronizes with them. So Steve King has come out and endorsed Geert Wilders and talked about basically, I believe the tweet was, and I don't have it in front of me, was this is Steve King. Wilders understands that culture and demographics are our destiny. We can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. This is the synchronization of far-right xenophobia, bigoted politics between Europe and the United States. Steve King is quite open about who he is and what his politics are. He's a forerunner of the Trump administration, along with Jeff Sessions, obviously. He was on Chris Cuomo this morning, doubled down on everything he said.
Wrote that Wilders understands that culture and demographics are our destiny. We cannot restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. This is being condemned by many regions of American politics and citizenry. What did you mean?
Well, of course, I meant exactly what I said, as it always is the case, Chris. And to expand on that a little further, I've been to Europe and I've spoken on this issue, and I've said the same thing as far as 10 years ago to the German people and to any population of people that is a declining population that isn't willing to have enough babies to reproduce themselves. And I've said to them, you cannot rebuild your civilization with somebody else's babies. You've got to keep your birth rate up, and that you need to teach your children your values. And in doing so, then you can grow your population and you can strengthen your culture, you can strengthen your way of life. And that's not happening in any of the Western European countries. France comes the closest to having a birth rate that's a replacement rate, but it's a clear message that we need to get our birth rates up, or Europe will be entirely transformed within a half a century or a little more. And Geert Wilders knows that, and that's part of his campaign and part of his agenda.
Right.
So this is and this is important. We can thank Steve King for putting this clearly out for what it is. And this is the other sort of important thing. There's some people want to make this raw, pseudo-sophisticated distinction, which is that, and by the way, a conservative one more in the modern National Review mold, which is that it isn't about race, it's about culture. So you can come from anywhere, and as long as you're willing to not bring yourself to the melting pot, which is why America's been, relatively successful actually in some ways with these things. If you completely subsume your identity, this can kind of work. What Steve King and these other people are talking about is they're not talking about you come from Morocco, but you become the model French citizen. They're saying we don't want you because you're from Morocco. And that's why you can't separate the Islamophobia from that. You can't sit back in the nerd Twitter environment or read some dumb fucking Sam Harris book and advocate those positions and not see that it's completely linked up with what you just witnessed. And if you can't recognize the distinction between condemning any type of religious extremism and saying, just as we can't let Steve King take over society, we obviously won't let Muslim fanatics take over our society, though Muslim fanatics are not going to take over our society. Steve King has.
And if CNN had a sort of functioning ethical mission, they wouldn't have Stephen King on after that. After he confirmed, he just said exactly what he meant.
That's exactly right.
Hey, folks, Sam Seder here. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses. And one way he can is by you subscribing to this channel. I don't know how that works.